When we think and we have something to do, we are trying to decide what to do. This was never taught to me as a child, so this is something I've come to realize over the last 15 years or so. The mind puts the building blocks together, figures out the square goes into the square hole, the rectangle goes into the rectangle hole. You pick up a pencil to write, and you turn left in the car to turn left, you turn right to turn right. The heart, the spiritual heart of which every human has, is the moral compass. And the moral compass is the like a compass in the bush. You use a little compass which points to north, and you know that to go north it will get you out of there, or east, west, south. And it's used as a guide to help you. So your heart is used as a guide to help you. Your heart has boundaries, it has great strengths, it has great courage, it has great guidance, and your heart guides you to do the right thing that you need to do. And morals are what I've got here. A lesson that can be derived from a story or experience. There's many stories that were written, and the bottom they have then the moral to the story is, and then they'll tell you what the lesson from the story is. So the moral is the lesson. You learn the lesson, and so in your life, you will do something, and the lesson that's learned from it is normally like a smack in the hand, or you put your hand on the element and it's hot, you get burned on the stove. So that's your lesson. Don't put your hand on the element. If you go up and slap someone's face and they slap you back, that's your lesson. And so you get these stories. There's one about the little red hen, the hen who wanted to make bread, and she wanted to gather the wheat, plant the seeds, plough the fields, plant the seeds, um, bring in the wheat, thresh the wheat, and finally make it into flour and then make the bread. No one wanted to help her all through the process until it came to taking the bread out of the oven, which you know cooked bread smells like, to eat. And everyone wanted to eat, and she said, "No, you didn't help me prepare everything for the bread, so you're not getting anything." And the moral of that story is, if you want something in the end, the rewards, you must put in an effort to get the rewards. Cheaters don't, and thieves don't. But there's a great satisfaction, also when you do something and you've got the reward there, like the bread on the table, and you got this great satisfaction because of what you did. It makes you feel really good. Standards, behaviour, principles of right and wrong, and there's public morals, the description of public morals, a moral code of ethics, moral standards, moral values, principles of right and wrong, scruples, sense of morality standards, rules of conduct. Now, I believe, since we all come under the umbrella of one God and one universe, that there is only one code. The problem is because the world has become so divided, especially if you look at the religions, and then you look at the leaders of the atheists, like communism and others, and liberal, who are not religious, but they're all divided as well as the churches. And you get all this, and they're all saying, ours is the way. Like you'll get a church that's pro-abortion, another church is not pro-abortion. So the thing about morals is, since this is our moral compass, is we're guided by the right thing to do for the right. That is the right thing to do for the many people if that is part of the choice. So, what does Spock say? The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one. And you come to a time in your life, we should all come to somewhere like, I would imagine, where we have to make a choice of some sort, where we have to take a risk, or we have to do something that worries us, frightens us, gives us fear, anxiety, and we know that we can avoid it and we don't have to do it. But if we don't have to do it, we'll have to live with ourselves. We'll have to live with the guilt of not doing the right thing. And the other thing is we have to live with shame, self-shame, self-disgust, self-shame, and it's kind of, it just popped into my head this example. You belong to a family who robbed a bank, and you one of the younger members of the family, your parents done it, and you'd like to tell the police, but your family says no, be quiet, don't say anything. So you don't, and then you grow up, and the money that was used in the robbery helps you through your school years or whatever. And then you're like 14, the family gets arrested, and you get arrested with them because you're an accomplice. So an accomplice is a person who is part of the crime. And as a person who's part of the crime, willingly, you go to jail, court, if court. But when it comes down to the moral compass, it's not about whether you're going to get caught or not. There's always the risk of getting caught. If you've had anything to do with anything that is legal, okay, so there's always a chance, well, I've done wrong. It's always a chance to get caught. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about your moral compass, which says what is right and what is wrong. It's like that man I mentioned, Eddie Kinley, who, and a few other of my videos, where he found out that he found gold, and he spent like 20 years stealing from the Kinley's paper mill. When he discovered he found God, and he discovered what he was doing was wrong, because when he was stealing, he felt it was his right to steal. You know, he was going to this company and the stuff was there, why not just take it? And he self-righteously believed it was his right to just take whatever he liked. When he became a believer in God, he discovered that was actually called theft. And what he was doing, he wouldn't steal off his neighbour, and he wouldn't steal off his friends, or he wouldn't steal in a shop, but he would steal off the company. I found a lot out there when I was working at there. There were a lot of people that had the view that stealing off the company was fine for some reason. I could never quite figure it out, but yeah, they believed that it was fine to steal off the company. So he found out, he discovered, he found God, he found it was wrong. So he was witness, the people who told me the story, witnessed them bringing big bags of stolen goods back to the company. The security guards couldn't do anything about it because he was taking stuff back, not stealing it. So he was taking it all back, and they let him do it because they thought it was good to see him do the right thing. It must have been amazing in the offices when they found stuff appeared instead of disappearing. And that was fine. But the reason he actually risked getting sacked by losing his job by taking the stuff back, because someone said, so you're admitting you stole it. Now we can sack you. So you see, he didn't get the sack. It was fine him bringing it back. I think he brought it back only on night shift anyway, where the big bosses weren't around and no one was going to tell on him. But he was doing the right thing by taking it back. And that's what your moral compass does. It tells you there is a good and a bad thing to do, and that the bad way is always the cowardly way. It's always the way that continues harm, continues suffering, continues evil, and gives us great shame, self disgust, self dislike. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of life you chose. You might choose to be a this or that and have lots of money or whatever you do, but as long as you have self disgust, self dislike, self hate, do not respect yourself, you have guilt, you have fears you're one day going to get caught, always over your shoulder looking, wondering when the day's going to come when you're going to get caught. Things like that, it's just not worth it. But a lot of people do actually make that choice. The cowardly choice is the easy choice. It always is. But the cowardly choice always puts you in a position where you're never at mental peace. And what is it? Conscience is a soft pillow. If your conscience is telling you you're guilty and you need to do something about it and you refuse to do anything about it, then your spirit, your conscience will torment you because you didn't do the right thing that would have helped other people. So when we make things right, we don't just make things right for ourselves or for the person or people we've hurt. And because that's an act of good, it makes things right for a lot of people. And that's the thing we ought to look at. The same as what I said in the video I did early on about character assassination and stuff. Or a good person gets attacked publicly and their character is harmed, people won't go to that person for help. So lots of people are hurt because that person has now a bad public image. Whereas if they'd still had their good public image, they could have helped a lot of people. But people don't go to people they fear or people they hate or people they dislike and they've heard things about things. So they don't go to that person and therefore they don't get cured, they don't get healed, things don't get better for them. And it's the ones that cause the lies and the character assassination and the harm that are the ones who are really to blame for it. It's an act of evil, it's an act of cruelty, it's an act of harming a person's soul. The Jews have a belief that Hebrews have a belief that thou shalt not kill means you should not kill another person's reputation. You can't help but kill things. When you walk across the grass, you kill insects. It's unavoidable. So you can't kill. You do kill every day. You breathe in microbes or something and you kill them. You can't help it. So killing is normal. Murder is different. But killing a person's character is like killing the person. Because the good character that was out there in the public, of which people would have gone to, is of value to the public and it's somebody everyone likes. Killing that character means changing that character's value, its importance to the public, and the public won't go near that character and they will even hurt, abuse, and harm that character based on the lies that they were told. So they believe that thou shalt not kill means thou shalt not kill that person's character because it does so much harm to their life. And it's not a good thing and it harms other people. So your moral compass, anyway, back to that, is your compass that makes you feel it's gotten me a couple of times really deeply where I have not wanted to do certain things because of the feared repercussions, the anxiety of just doing it. I faced a person saying, look, I did something wrong, I made a mistake. I remember someone I did, I can't remember the exact the facts, but I accidentally did someone wrong, accidentally. In this case, and to my horror, I had to go and I didn't have to. I could have walked away. It wouldn't have harmed anybody. No one would have known about it, even that person, that I was the one who did it. But I knew I had to do it. So I went and saw the person and I told them what happened and I apologized. And it's kind of interesting how people become more forgiving when you do that. I remember the guy, I hit his car. I was on welfare, very poor, and I hit this guy's car, scraped his bumper, and I got it. I heard it. It made a lot of noise. When I got out of the car, I looked at this bumper, and there was a scratch on it. It was a plastic bumper, which means you can fix it. And I stared at it and I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm in so much trouble. I've got no money anyway, Virgie. I was at the stage, I was bringing up 2 little children. I was going without food already. So, I mean, so I wasn't feeling too good about it. And I looked at the shop and I waited and no one came out. And I thought, well, I can just drive away. I mean, God will understand. Oh, I didn't believe in God back then. It would have been, oh well, I understand, but the kids were in the car with me, Tracy and Rachel, and I was like, what do I do? What do I do? And I sort of looked at the door and I put my head in. And I said, kids, I'm going to go and tell the man I hit his car. Well, the person inside could be a woman, and they were like, oh. And I think Tracy said, you don't have to. And the temptation hit you. And he said, yeah, I don't have to. And I thought, and I said, I'll figure out a way to pay it. I was thinking, as far as I could tell, there wasn't a way to pay it. But so I got out of the car and I went inside, and there was only 2 people in there, an older man and a younger man. And I said to the younger man, I said, oh, is that your car outside? And I said the colour and the make. And he said, yes. And I said, well, I had it. And he goes, oh. And they hadn't heard these things, so he didn't look too panicky. And he says, oh, what's the damage? And I said, oh, it's a scrape on your bumper. And he goes, oh, okay. And the other guy said, oh, call the police or get his license plate number, all that stuff. And I was looking at the old guy thinking, oh my gosh. And I knew I deserved, because it was my mistake, to pay for it. I was in the wrong. I should pay for it even if I couldn't afford it. It was my fault. And so it worked out. The young guy went out and had a quick look at it, and he came back and he said, no, it's fine, don't worry about it. It's just not a problem. And I said, and the other guy said, no, make him pay for it. And the guy said, no, it's fine. And I said, are you sure? And he says, yeah. And I said, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And when I left and got on the car, I was like, yes. So the thing here is sometimes, most of the time, I feel it's kind of like fear. Most of the time you fear something, it doesn't come true. And most of the time you worry about doing something, you think it's going to turn out bad and it doesn't. Sometimes we have things to do, we should do them just because our moral compass tells us to do the right thing, because we can't live with doing the wrong thing. The main person who suffers when we go against our moral compass is ourselves. We become very, very bitter. I know a woman who said that I mentioned that a certain person had Alzheimer's disease, and she said, well, look at them. And I said, what do you mean? She says, look at how they were during their life. And I said, what do you mean by that? And she says, well, they were a bad person. You know that. And I said, well, yes. And she said, well, I believe that when they're like that, they get these kind of diseases because they never paid for it during their life. And I was like, oh, okay. So I don't know if that's true, but it kind of sounds right. So anyway, so your moral compass is the guide. It guides you to do the right thing, not the wrong thing. Your mind can talk you out of doing the right thing by filling your mind full of fears, panic, and worry. And so you don't do the right thing, but for the rest of your life, if you do not follow the moral compass, you will pay in your mind with anxiety, self-doubt, self-hate, self-disgust, etc., etc., etc. And you'll try many times. You'll do motivation courses. You'll buy new cars. You'll put on flash clothes. Do your hair up. Buy new earrings, new shoes, whatever. But you'll always collapse again because you let you down in here. And all the material goods and all the relationships and all the sex and all the drugs and all that stuff will never be enough to help you get over what you didn't do, that you knew from your moral compass all along you should have done. That's what your moral compass is for, and that's why you need it. So if your moral compass calls you to get out there and do your thing, get out there and do your thing.